Yeah, somebody's going off for a drink. We're not going to end up in the drink.
So can I just tell you, hello everybody. So can I just tell you that on this shot, this came up in my Facebook feed. One of the best Halloween costumes I think I've ever seen. It's a guy dressed as Quint
from Jaws.
Quint,
okay, yes,
right. Instead of like the pants or the kind of rubber smock that he wears,
yeah,
there's a shark that's like eating him. It's like it goes up to like waist high, but it's like the shark's head as it's eating him, and he's just kind of standing in the shark's head.
So this is where he didn't jump the shark, because the shark's eating his tail. That shark is adorable.
Quite literally. Welcome back, both. Good to see you. Particularly after last week. Families, who'd have them? I don't know.
Yeah. It's okay, Dan. At least you had an adventure, and adventures are what count.
That's very, very true. And we were just talking about adventures a little bit before we came on. When we're talking about Star Trek, we'll be digging into Star Trek a little later on because there's some Star Trek sort of news-ish, as well as various other bits and pieces. But this is where we usually sort of ramble on until the rabbi steams in with whatever he's got to add. The rabbi will be transporting in at any moment. He has our precise locations, so we'll hear that sort of.
He's caught in the pattern buffer right now,
like Scotty.
That's right.
That's it. Or he'll be. He's in the Nexus. But knowing him, it would be the anus. But there we are.
Okay, so just for the record, I was not the one that got us in trouble 3 minutes into the live stream this week. It was our friend Daniel, who said a bad word involving bums.
I said a 4-letter word beginning with A right off the bat. Oh, speak of the devil! Everybody do the sound effect.
Creaming crackers is arriving.
A 4-letter word beginning with A must be anal.
Oh, there you go. And we're still not 2 minutes in. And once again, it was not me. Yeah, I feel so much better.
I said anus.
That's
close.
3.
I was close.
So you're 50% of the way there.
There you go.
Well, I imagine that, obviously Picard in Star Trek Generations, he finds himself trapped, doesn't he, in the Nexus, where he bumps into Captain James T. Kirk.
Yeah, Nexus isn't that great. Why would you want to kill people to go into that? It's basically a holodeck.
No, it was more
that's
like...
the one. That's one of the...
No, you know what it was? It was a stupid idea.
It was...
we had 7 really solid years of TNG, and then, All Good Things was fantastic. Everybody loved it. And then they just had this dumb idea.
Less said about Kirk's death, the better.
Well, even the writers, Ron Moore and Brandon Braga said that in retrospect, it wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. And they said that they wish they'd waited because they were all kind of burned out from
you can tell
finishing, because that movie started production right after the season ended. They didn't give them a break.
Yeah,
well, think about poor Patrick Stewart. I think it almost killed him because he directed the penultimate, second last episode. He was in pretty much every scene of the final 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was the day after he's filming the movie, which featured him prominently.
Wait, wasn't that penultimate episode awful? I can't remember.
No, that's the one with Ensign Rowe, where they they deal with Ensign Rowe.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What was the one where they're on a train? It was towards the end, and it was like...
that was the second last episode.
That's called Emergence. That's the second to last.
That's Rabbi, if you were here when I was talking about the 7th season is basically Star Trek Takes Crack. That was one of those episodes. That's where the Enterprise has had so much experience that it births its own life form that emerges from a train. Yes, folks, that's a plot.
To me, Next Gen, I know we're not, Dan's going, why are we talking about Next Generation? To me, just really quickly, Next Generation is on a bell curve for me, because the first couple seasons are low, and then it peaks, and then the last couple seasons kind of go down again for me. So
I think season 6 is one of the stronger, though. I mean,
3 through 5 for me. 6 is okay. I can appreciate the fact that they tried to do something different in season 7. But they tried to do something way different. Literally, I've always called that season TNG Takes Crack.
Yeah. Wait. What was the season when you had that? There was a good Tasha Yar, not Tasha Yar, sorry, Tiana Troy story when she was a Romulan.
Redemption. That was the
no, that the
season 4
Romulan.
and
No,
5
that's
arc.
Face of the Enemy. That's season 6.
Yeah, Face the Enemy. That was a good season. I remember liking that season a lot.
Season 7 is when Troy turns into a fish. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's when they all
you
turn into
could say-
reptiles.
It's true.
You could say TNG goes downhill ever since they got rid of Tomahawk, right? It was also Jakar.
Yeah, that's right.
What's his name? Andreas, the one-armed man.
Katsoulis.
Andreas Klaus.
Katsoulis.
Yeah, he was a fantastic guy.
So
you know what I
much of
can't find? This really makes me crazy. When Babylon 5 hit its last season, it was on TNT, right? And they had these incredible promos with like it was just a 30-second one with that was it Jakar, Andreas, whatever his name is, doing this great soliloquy like for freedom. And it was fantastic. Can't find that anywhere on YouTube.
The last season of Babylon 5 is why I haven't rewatched that series in 20 years.
Yeah, they basically ended it at the end of season 4.
It's one of those, Rob. It's the last season of Babylon 5. It's like if they tried to do a 6th season of Breaking Bad, because the show had the big arc. It was over. Then they're like, oh, we're going to do one more season. So if you want to, the actual Babylon 5 is seasons 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
1 is not that great, and actually most of the cast is dead. Like literally, most of the Babylon 5 cast is dead. I'm not making that up. Like, and a lot of them very young and tragic. There's like a curse.
I mean, when you end up doing an episode about the janitors, you kind of know that you're running on fumes.
Well, they made the decision to basically try and wrap everything up with the end of season 4.
Well, that was supposed to be.
They weren't sure they're going to get a season 5.
Right.
So they tried. Wait, what wasn't Third Space in season 5? They had a couple of good ones.
No, those were one of the movies that they did after the show.
And that's what they used to fill out. That was supposed to be.
If you remember, what happened is that he was told by the original network that it was on. They said, it's okay, we know you've got this 5-year arc, but wrap it all up in 4, there's a good boy. And so he did that as was ordered. And just at that moment, he started to get all of this interest, didn't he, from I think it went to TNT in the end, but there were several people bidding for it. Yep. And they wanted, but the idea was he wanted to sell them his sequel series, Crusade. But they wouldn't take Crusade.
That was strangled at birth.
Well, they wouldn't take Crusade unless they got another final series of Babylon 5 to lead in to Crusade, which they imagined on TNT would run for years and years. Right. And the idea being that Crusade would be bolstered with a series of Babylon 5 telemovies. And I think that In the Beginning and Third Space were the first ones, were they? There was another,
I think they did like 5 all total.
Yeah,
no, you're right.
They were not great.
They kind of ran adrift when they had the hollow brothel with where you had to wear that like skin tight suit so the holograms could touch you. Do you remember that?
Although Crusade had Gary Cole, who's one of my favorite actors. I like him in anything he does.
But it was strangled at birth. It was a really interesting interesting idea. I liked what's the name? Edward Woodward's son, the Techno Mage.
Yeah, Techno Mage. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that there was a lot interesting stuff they could have done with that. But they were going to do one of the first what's that? Massive video games. Multi MMO
MMRPs.
Right. And it got the plug got pulled on that before they finished. I was like, because I would have loved to have investigated that world a little bit.
Well, I got a question. Which show died the worst death? Sliders or Babylon 5?
Well, I don't know because Sliders I stopped watching.
Sliders was.
Well, Babylon 5, it wasn't great, but you had like Sleeping in Light? Was that the last episode where they shot as the end of season 4?
Yes.
Yeah, that had been shot the year before.
Right. And you had a few decent things going on in season 5, right? But basically, like the last 4 or 5 episodes were them all saying goodbye to Babylon 5, over and over and over again. Right, until J. Michael Straczynski had a cameo.
You could argue that stayed true to the blueprint that it was based on, because Babylon 5 was based on Lord of the Rings, and there's a lot of those sorts of
that's
to that point. Time after time, isn't there? But with Sliders, which I adored that show for 3-4 years. I think it ran for 5-6 seasons in the end, didn't it? When a show can't keep hold of Jerry O'Connell, It's probably
That's not
time.
good news, is it?
I kind of thought.
No, Sliders ditched a great idea. They had interesting, like the third episode. They had a rival Slider who was supposed to go after them.
Well, no, they decided to go with the stupid Cro-Mags, which killed the show.
Yeah.
But no, not only did they didn't just lose Jerry O'Connell, they lost everyone except for what's his face.
Right, and because of Sliders, we didn't get a Paul McGann. Doctor
Well, they
Who,
brought in his brother.
Yeah, well, he when Jerry O'Connell left, he got fired because you're only here because
I kind of think that show kind of died when John Rhys Davies left. That was
it died again. Well, it was canceled twice, but no, at the end of season 3. Well, if you remember the end of season 3, that's when they like the last 6 episodes are all just movie ripoffs. Yeah,
I don't remember the end of season 3.
Although I did like what's her name, Carrie.
Carrie
Ware, boy,
yeah, she was nice.
Something.
Yes,
it needed that avuncular figure that John Rhys Davies.
It needed that doctor figure essentially because it was a very Doctor Who type show.
Because in the end, the hero of it ended up being what's his name, the crying man, didn't it?
Really?
Brown.
Pretty much.
He was the only one left. Everybody else quit the show.
Yeah,
because they ended on a cliffhanger.
I had a crush on Wade. Yeah, actually, they at the end of season 3 when they both left, I'm like, yeah, you suck.
Yeah, it's done.
What could have been was another one of those what could have beens, isn't it? It's a show that it's popular to knock, but it has got a bit of a fan base. They keep talking about bringing it back, don't they?
No, I like it. Don't bring it back.
Marmite of appeal. No, don't.
I like Sliders.
I put Sliders in its entirety like 1 or 2 notches below Highlander, the TV show.
Really?
I like Highlander, the TV show.
It was way better than Sliders as a TV show. Way better.
It was just so cheap.
It
was just so cheap. I mean, and it just because I love Highlander the movie. I love what the Renegade cut of Highlander too. But I think somebody said this to me the other day. With Highlander, there can be only one. Right? There's only one good movie.
What Gary was just mentioning earlier on about TNG having sort of bell curve. Highlander the series is just the same. The first season and a half is a bit shaky, and then the rest of seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5 are fantastic, and then you get that final series. Then you get that final series, which was a kind of it was half brand new episodes that wrapped everything up, and half pilots for various spin-offs. So the final series does let it down a little, but there's still some great stuff in that final season.
Well,
great shows, way better than Sliders.
TV show in the new movie. They got Jeremy Irons as cast as the head of the Watchers, and
Brilliant
that was
idea.
in the TV show.
Yeah,
I will say about Star Trek, DS9 and Enterprise have a steady upward curve.
Yes.
And for me, Voyager is just a flat line. It bored the hell out of me in 1995, and it
never goes anywhere.
It has about 20 good episodes.
Voyager. What they should have done is change the model of the Voyager each year. Then it gets a different nacelle as it has to get different bits from different things as it goes through space. That would actually make more. And also, it was just very late. I mean, Janeway was. She had that that tone in her voice, like it was like Enterprise run by Karen from HR, right?
Yeah, Rabbi, Year of Hell was their series that you got.
That was good.
2 episodes.
See, I actually think I personally think there's a lot of good things I like about Voyager. The problem is the premise demanded it to be a serialized show like Deep Space Nine, but they were intent on keeping it episodic, and that was the studio. They wanted it episodic like TNG, but the premise demanded that it be, like Rabbi said, they're adding new things on, they're jury rigging a lot of things. That's what they should have been gone with. And they had like 400 shuttles because every episode a shuttle gets blown up.
Wasn't there like 42 as a final count? But I find every few years, I watch DS9. Every time I watch it, I'm always remembered like more than 30 years after I first watched it. This show is as good as it ever was. I'd say maybe about once every 1 or 2 years, I try to give Voyager another try. And I pick random seasons. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it another try. Can I get through it? And sometimes I don't even get through one episode. And I think that I've maybe made it through like 2 3. But I'm like, this is like, it's like, I put it this way, half to this day, I still have not seen half the episodes in season 7. So I remember I used to tape them because I was working while they were on, and I just couldn't summon up the energy to watch it. And even I just got season 7 on DVD as like a completion, and I tried, but yeah, so half that season I have no idea what's going on. I've never.
Here's my This is my Star Trek collection. So I am somewhat of a Star Trek fan, and I've sort of augmented it. So I've got TNG on DVD on the top there, and I upgraded to Blu-ray. But a few years ago, that steady diet of new Trek really put me off watching all Star Trek. So I was watching Next Generation all the way through, and I think I got up to about 5 episodes into season 3, and I just completely fell out of all interest in Star Trek, and I couldn't stand to watch any of it. So I'm going to go back to it and probably pick up where I left off, because I've added a few more bits and pieces to this assortment as well. But I'd like to upgrade the original series, I think, and I know you can get Enterprise on Blu-ray because that was made in HD, wasn't it? It was a very early series.
Well, you can get fan upscales of DS9.
I'm not interested in those.
Well, you understand, Enterprise is kind of touch and go because it's 720. It's very early HD. Aside from season 4, which was shot digitally, the first 3, to be honest, the quality is pretty ropey. It's, to be honest, not that far above the DVDs.
Right, I'm telling you, the AI upscale, the fan AI upscale. No, I mean, I did an A/B of it. I watched it on Netflix, and I went to the exact same episode for the same scene, and then watched the upscale. I'm like, well, why doesn't Netflix just use this? Well, I can't watch it now on Netflix. It's like my TV's too big, and it's just like, maybe
I should sort of download some or something. But I'm a physical media guy. I like my box sets. I like working my way through these, and I know we're unlikely to get them, but I'd just rather watch it on disc, and I'd rather watch official stuff. That's
man, we are in a different universe.
Well, the fact that we can't get DS9, I don't care about Voyager, but DS9 is very disheartening. For those of you who don't know why you can get a show like, say, Columbo or even Quantum Leap. Well, yeah, I think Quantum Leap is in the same thing. And you can't get something like DS9 is very simple. Columbo, it was edited by splicing the actual negative. So all you have to do is literally just scan the original negative, and you've got a complete episode. It's like literally just, it's like scanning a 4K movie. With DS9, Voyager, and they did this on TNG, and why it was so expensive. And honestly, I think they should have thought ahead before doing this. All 3 shows, the action was shot on film, but it was edited on videotape. So not only is there the question of the effects, but when they did the Next Generation, because the actual the effects composites, everything was on standard def videotape. And there's a documentary of this on season 1. What they actually, and it's insane when you think about what they did, because there's 177 episodes.
Yep.
For all those episodes, they had to go in and track down all the original elements, which were not all in the same, like the first half of the season or series and second half are actually stored in completely different parts of the country.
That's right.
They had to go in, rescan everything, make sure it was the, go through the different takes and make sure they had the right one. They had to reconstruct each episode manually. That's why they lost money, which sucks. And this is with something like Star Trek. I'm like, if you look at something like in the 90s, even ER was edited on film from the beginning. Like, this is Star Trek. Why would you not have thought towards the future? In 1987, they were already planning for high definition. It would have made sense, even though, yes, it may have taken more time, but in terms of future viability and future sales, to have edited this on film and then just spliced in your effects. Because now this is why DS9 and Voyager are forever locked as in standard definition.
Well, in their defense, I remember J. Michael Straczynski when Babylon 5 was airing said, we're shooting this in 480. So we're totally fine when HDTV comes in.
Bless him.
Yeah. You know what? You know what?
Sense.
Maybe Skydance will
makes
say,
sense
you know
at the
what? We're restoring everything. There you go.
I have a lot of hope for Skydance. I mean, Paramount,
okay.
so.
Well, we're gonna come to the future of Star Trek later on in the live stream.
What
Before
is
we
this
get
from?
stuck into the meat and potatoes of everything that we've got lined up on this one, I wanted to ask you about something in particular, Rabbi, because you sent me a voicemail a couple of days ago, and I'd seen a bit about this, but it was concerning what turned out to be idle gossip, really, wasn't it? And one actor in particular, David Corenswet, aka Superman, the new Superman, the true Superman, who's gone down a storm really here on this show. I think we all pretty much loved that movie this year. But David Corenswet was a victim of a cancellation attempt of sorts this week.
A malicious, lying, defamatory assault, right? Because he committed the crime of not being Henry Cavill. But yeah, I was totally taken in by it. All right, there's your Hollywood morons signing a letter that they won't work with Israeli institutions. And I saw it online that David Corenswet signed it, and I was pissed off. But then I saw it corroborated on 2 news sites. So I'm like, really? Well, it must be true. I went off on a bender about that on my show on Thursday. Like an absolute bender, epic and blinding. Yeah, it's very uncommon for me, as I'm sure you understand.
That's not like you, mate.
Yeah, not like me. Calm, cool, collected. That's how they're describing. And then after doing like 40 minutes on it, Problem Big was in the chat, and he said, no, it's not true. It's all, but yeah, I mean, like, this is just insane.
It's not the first time. They keep going after this guy, and you're quite right. It's a group of people who couldn't get over the fact that somebody else has been cast as Superman, and the very worst thing that could possibly have happened in that the Superman movie was really, really successful. So they've been backpedaling on that for the last 5 months. Oh, but in Uganda, on a Tuesday, more people saw the Man of Steel back in 2011 or whenever it was. It's
comparing it to Man of Steel is ridiculous. It's a different time. Man of Steel was before they destroyed cinema. Although, it did. I don't think it did gangbusters in that. I don't think anything really did gangbusters this year in the cinema that I can think of.
No, not to the extent that films used to. But the notion that they're pushing that film and this actor was a failure, and nobody's really bought that. This guy's on. He's on everybody's underpants and lunchboxes again, and so it's evident that David Corenswet made a big impact as Superman on a considerable scale, and a lot of people are excited for what DC Studios have got coming up, largely because of the appeal of this actor. So they're targeting him in any way that they can. I don't get the impression that Zack Snyder is endorsing it in any way.
Zack Snyder's moved on.
Doesn't care.
Zack Snyder, I'm sure you're watching. Please stop writing your script. Hook yourself up with Grant Morrison. He's your man. He wants to do more movie scripting, right? Zach, you have great ideas. You can't write for toffee. I tried and I tried and I tried to watch Rebel Moon, right? I did everything I could. I really like his work, right? I watched the extended edition. I did everything, and it just got worse and worse. It's unwatchably bad. But there are a lot of good ideas in it. If you had a really good, talented writer, you could fashion that into a script. It would, and you should have done. But don't write your own stuff, Zach. Okay, don't write. Know your limitations.
Maybe he should team up with James Gunn again, because they did work together years ago on that Dawn of the Dead remake, didn't they? And they're still really good mates. I mean, the two factions. Well, it was specifically these people who won't let the Snyderverse go.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you tried to set the two.
It's gone. It's over.
Get over for years. I loved it as well, but it's been gone for years. And here they are. They're cozying up on James Gunn's own social media feed. So, just absolute bullshit. As you say, totally malicious. And there was something else going on this week as well. Now, did you see it was the premiere of Stranger Things Season 5? They had a big premiere for it.
Right.
And just before that, it came out that the actor David Harbour, who's been he's one of the major stars of. When I think back of Stranger Things, anybody who's not a kid, I think of Winona Ryder and David Harbour. He's been on it for years. And they were insisting, again, on those various sites that are all owned by the same conglomerate, that Millie Bobby Brown who plays 11, played the little girl in that, who's now like something like 21, 22, that she had put in some sort of complaint against him for improper conduct of some kind. Did you see that? And that was absolutely everywhere. And just like the Henry Cavill stuff, a day later they have the premiere, and there they are together on the red carpet, getting on like a house on fire. You think, well, what are people thinking? Do they think we'll just believe everything? Or more to the point, have we been believing anything that these malicious news corporations have been telling us for donkey's years? When they decide they don't like somebody and want to gang up on them, that's what happens.
News has lost all its relevance. I mean, look at BBC in England. It used to be the gold standard, right? Now it's a joke. It's literally a joke. Blimey, how long ago was that?
Stranger Things series 1 in 2016 that they were together.
See, the trouble is, the Stranger Things, I don't give a shit anymore, and I liked it. Right, I genuinely liked every episode. I liked watching everything. I liked the first season, I liked the second season, I liked the third. I've liked every. I thought full season dragged a little bit, I think, but like 3 years later, I'm like,
I can't say I haven't seen it for years and years. But they suspect now. What they're saying is that this is all in support of the actress and singer. I use both those terms loosely. Lily Allen, who is now David Harbour's ex-wife, and apparently she pulled some strings. She has got considerable influence in the entertainment industry, and the suggestion is that it was people trying to support her by generating a story around David Harbour being some sort of, if not an abuser, then a person of bad character. That's what's alleged at the moment. I don't know if Lily Allen has actually spoken about that, but obviously she's just got a new album out, which has sort of blown the lid on the breakdown of their marriage. So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me, because you know what these media conglomerates are like. If they've got somebody that they like and they think, oh, he's done her dirty,
getting more blatant and more desperate as they get less relevant.
Well, I have to be honest. I lost all respect for David Harbour when I found out that he was married to Lily Allen. I'm like, no, I'm not joking. How can you be that?
It's a fair point. She's vile.
Like, how can you be that dumb? I'm like, okay, he was older when they were married. You're a grown-ass man. She's horrible. Like, why? I'm like, and you're like the Stranger guy, the Stranger Things dude. You could have gotten anyone you wanted. Why?
I think she must give a really good blowy, I would imagine.
I don't care what
Chris,
nothing is worth that.
Chris, the heart wants what the heart wants.
Why would the heart want that? No, I'm like, this is, and to young men out here, this is one of the things that frustrates me, is when you see somebody that's completely toxic. Oh, I'm gonna marry that individual. Yeah. What could go wrong? Yeah. And then it's the same story every time. David, dude, we're so sorry, but you did this to yourself. Like honestly, dude, like what the hell? That's my comment.
No, I agree. What was he thinking? We'll hand that over to our adjudicators and see if they can work it out. In the meantime, I think it's time we hit the ignition and get stuck into the really geeky stuff. Before we do that, let's have a quick blast of, I think, spot of, where are we? How about some of this?
Sure was great to see Star Wars on the big screen, huh?
He won't take it off. He won't take it off. He still won't take it off.
I have an idea.
Even the most dedicated galactic warrior can't resist a pan pizza from Pizza Hut. So, right now at Pizza Hut, free Star Wars games with selected meal deals. Available in restaurant, takeaway and delivery while stocks last.
He's still at it. He's still mulling it over, everyone. Yes, and why not? Okay, yes, so it's the Spacebook Live, strange out there entertainment on YouTube and Rumble for Saturday, the 8th of November, 2025, and beyond, with a far out panel as ever, and me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. You've heard them already, but let's go through it. We've got Gary Akers here with his Batman cap on. It's a good job I picked that picture earlier on, isn't it? Come to think of it.
Hello, old chum.
Time. We've got the rabbi from Other Planets, Spielberg in here too. Crackers as yet uncreamed, and Chris Bowles, aka the mighty Bowles Trek, ready to let fly.
Hi everyone, and just a spoiler for earlier, Frank is trying to create fake news to save his reputation, so we'll be learning about that at the end of the stream. So stay tuned.
But by the way, Dan, I came across something that you would really love, right? So,
yes.
So you like all the vintage ads and trailers. It was an SFX magazine, one of the only good things in SFX magazine these days.
Okay.
It was a link to a YouTube channel, which I thought played vintage trailers. I'm like, well, that's boring. No, what they do is they play the trailer reel that went with vintage movies. So you can see the trailers that went with like Romancing the Stone. It's like,
I'd like that.
Those are great.
I'd really like that. Yeah,
I know. I'll try and find you the link. It's really fun.
Because it conjures up a whole time, doesn't it?
It
magical
does.
time.
It really does.
Stuff I would have gone to see that. I went to see Romancing the Stone, for example, and yeah, it's lots of happy memories of all that time in the cinema. We've got a lot to get into. Some of the 80s as well here on this edition of the show. You'll be pleased to learn. I think the 80s is sort of our happy place, isn't it? And we're live streaming to YouTube and Rumble as always. And we've got a few people who are chipping in already. A hail chat from our mate Garbage. He's there, as is PD Rich too. We've got Duncan Funky Edwards here. Where is he? There he is. Never got past the pilot of Voyager. The captain's voice was so
that was the best
grinding.
episode.
No,
Mr. Paris.
I tried
That and Year of Hell.
Oh, Rabbi, I tried watching it last year, and I'm
doesn't hold up.
No, I thought the time travel to 1996 two-parter was good.
Well, that's I
was some
say
good
there's
one.
about 20 good episodes. Most of them are two-parters, and most of them are time travel or holodeck episodes.
Right. I mean, I
Garbage.
like the was it when they had the 1930s sci-fi holodeck stuff? You know, Captain Chaos.
Oh, Captain Proton.
Yeah,
There was the odd bit and piece. 180 episodes. There's got to be some gold in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So but it just wasn't worth 7 years of your life.
No.
I'm
I'm rewatching Battlestar Galactica right now, and that really holds up. First time I've seen it in about 15 years.
Well, for the record, I gave it a chance. I sat through that show from January 1995 until it ended in June 2001. 6.5 years, hoping that it would stop sucking.
Voyager, no, never did.
I bought all the videos as well. Garbage asks, isn't a trailer for Supergirl due in the next 2 weeks? I believe so. It's certainly out before Christmas. I can't wait to get an instinct about the flavour of that. Craig Gillespie is the director, isn't he? And I'm never too sure what he's done, but I know I've seen movies that he's made, and I'm very confident in what we've seen of it so far, design-wise. But obviously, until we see the trailer, we don't get an idea of the tone, do we? So yeah, I'll be waiting with bated breath. Lucy Meow says, I don't like the new Superman movie, but Corin Sweat was good as Superman. The problem was the writing. Lucy, no. You were one of the ones on this channel, comment after comment, you were prejudiced against that movie really bad, in my opinion. And there was loads of people just like you, but you were not prepared to give that movie a chance. I remember. Don't come that with me. Cool, says PD Rich. A lot of people were prejudiced against the Superman film, and I don't know. I mean, I don't go and see films that I'm prejudiced against. I go and do something I want to do. But I can't knock people for different people view things differently, don't they?
Have you heard, Dan? Maybe, and apologies if you were going to bring this up yourself, but have you heard? I read a couple of places online, and I don't believe what I read online, but that they're filming more scenes with Superman and Lobo in order to increase the male appeal for the Supergirl movie. Have you heard that?
I haven't, but I mean, it sounds like more goofy culture war bullshit for people who are on our side of the aisle. Like, because it's a female lead, then we'll make it sound this way. I would imagine that there've been pickups because there are always pickups on big movies.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that there are. And to be fair, given the big impact of Superman this year, why would David Corn Sweat not be in that?
Yeah.
Billy Alcock was in Superman, so why would he not be in that? But I don't know. I doubt that if he is in it, I doubt that would be the reason as to why. If you get me. But we'll probably never know. But I would imagine there have been pickups and things like that because they usually are, aren't there? I've been amused this week by, and I saw this. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm getting quite excited. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I'm getting quite excited about this new Harry Potter TV show. I don't think it's going to be on for about another 2 years, but obviously there are still people who are somewhat salty as regards anything involving J.K. Rowling. And there was the filming is ongoing on the new Harry Potter show. And but there was a protest that turned up. I think this could be a sign that woke may be on the decline. This was the protest that turned up for at the shooting of the Harry Potter series last week. This was the some title.
That's the protest.
That is the saddest thing I have ever seen. That is just pathetic.
Loser.
So I thought you'd appreciate that. Yeah, I think this is another strong indicator that woke is on the way out. And in Britain, though, we've got some bad news. It seems like our totalitarian prime minister intends on banning VPNs in the near future.
Yeah, they're doing that in Australia and Canada because otherwise you could circumvent their totalitarian control.
Oh, well, yes. Come like December in Canada, if our new laws come to pass, I don't even know if I'm allowed to do live streams anymore. Like, this is the one where they will kick you off the internet. Like, everything you do will be surveilled. I live in hell.
Yeah.
Wait, so Dan, does that mean that you won't be able to download anything? Is that what that means?
Yes, basically. Yeah, anything of that nature. If you sail the seven seas or do anything like that. But it's obviously it also compromises the things that they sell VPNs on. Yeah, VPNs are advertised and sold everywhere in Britain, particularly when you go onto YouTube. But lots of creators, some pretty big creators, they sell them, don't they? They're endorsed by them because of the rise of identity fraud, I suppose. And so having a VPN actually is pretty sensible in this day and age. I know several people who have VPNs dedicated, for example, for their workplaces because of the information, the data that they hold.
Yep.
So the idea that could, whether that would affect businesses or not, or whether it would just be domestically, I can possibly say. But then so many people work from home now, I can't see how this can be enforced. But we're talking about Keir Starmer here, the two-tier Keir.
It can be enforced. They could tell because obviously if you're using a VPN, you have a different IP address. And they can geographically track them. Like, okay, so this person lives in Toronto. Wait, why is he coming out of Australia? But I was
going to say the issue of those policing. Do they? I mean, they can't have enough police to enforce this.
Well, the problem is in our country they don't do anything about actual crimes. I have people injecting in front of my house. They don't do anything about that. But if I'm not making that up,
I know you're not. I know you're not.
And but if you but it's the law-abiding citizens. Like, God help you if you say so. Like, you can inject in front of my house on perfectly fine. But if you say something mean about the people that are doing this, then you're in trouble. But in Canada, it's very nefarious because under the CRTC, which is basically our content regulator, a certain percentage of all content has to be Canadian propaganda that everybody hates. Just to give you an example, we once had a show that nobody watched called Little Mosque on the Prairie that ran for like 7 years. That's just one example. So they want to regulate everything that's on Netflix, everything that's on streaming services, to mandatory have to carry a certain amount of Canadian content. And you're not allowed to watch non-Canadian content. You will not be able to watch Fox News. They'll get rid of that.
Wow.
It's like I said, my country is a warning to the world about everything. And if you think it's because I know we have Canadians in the chat, they will reinforce everything I'm saying. If you think what's been reported in the news is bad, you have no idea what it's like to live in this country. Essentially, we are a lawless country when it comes to actual criminals now, but we are a dictatorship when it comes to law-abiding citizens who think the wrong way. It's like we're in hell.
Law-abiding citizens are easier to control.
Yeah,
it's getting the same. It's getting exactly the same way here. Garbage here in the live chat says VPNs are for safety. The government want them banned, so when they start the digital ID, they can track you easier. Which is, of course, it does seem to be where everything's pointed. It's
but like, when's this stuff supposed to come in? I can't see them getting it in.
They haven't said and this isn't public yet. This is just what whispers are saying. But then again, digital ID itself was something that was only being whispered about.
It's happening. I know in my country it's going to happen. And again, folks, you hear me talk. Well, in the U.S., you're fine until you have an election that goes south, and then you're completely screwed. Yeah. But this is why I say all the time. And people, especially around here, make fun of me because I'm the only person in, like, me and my dad are the only two people I know that collect physical media. Physical media is your friend, because when these come into play, you won't be able to see these shows anymore. And I guarantee a lot of these shows that we love will be made illegal for streaming because of wrongthink. So, or they will be edited. So if you like your favorite show, go buy that little disc. Because then it's yours, and they can't take away from you.
You know, it's like that. It's like the V for Vendetta movie. It's like that's like watching a 2-hour preview of coming attractions these days.
It is. I mean, speaking of attractions, I'm very attracted to Sydney Sweeney, as I suspect most red-blooded most red-blooded men actually are, and I was delighted to see over the last couple of days Sydney Sweeney back in the news and doing the God's work, I felt. So we've been saying on this show for a little while, we've been noting about the fact that woke is dying, people that practice wokeism, people who identify as this and that and the other, it's all going out of fashion. That's all that's really happening. And more to the point, when it comes to the intellectual properties that we've sort of followed and the franchises, the big franchises, the studios that have ruined them all have run out of other people's money to burn.
Apart from the BBC, they're still eager.
It's because it's not their money. Yeah, it's bottomless pockets because they're other people's pockets. Exactly. But obviously, when it comes to the death of woke and wokeists, they're doing what all snakes do: is they lash out, don't they, at the final throes just before they're about to expire. Sadly, it cost poor Charlie Kirk his life, but they're still going at it, trying to cancel people. And there was a desperate last-ditch attempt to cancel Sydney Sweeney this week. I think it's been about 5 months since she did the advert here that we're looking at now for American Eagle jeans, which switched most of us on in one way or the other, either to the jeans or to Sydney Sweeney. And but she's probably been one of the faces of the last 2 years. I don't think she's exactly become this sort of great big A-lister, but she's sort of defining the times in some respects. And she gives very few interviews, but when she does, she seems to say the right things and judge everything perfectly. But in the last few days, she was grabbed for an interview in promotion of this new boxing movie she's got coming out, Christie. So she was grabbed by GQ magazine. Now, I would have thought of all magazines you'd think would want to give Sydney Sweeney a decent showcase, it would be GQ magazine, but it seems not, because they set a proper social justice warrior type on her, a real wokist in Catherine Stofel. So here she is. This is a sample of the interview between Stofel and Sydney Sweeney. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Seeing is believing.
The criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like, white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like, that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just want to give you an opportunity. That's I think that
It couldn't have frozen at a better place.
I won't take
Took you down.
Careful.
But it couldn't have frozen at a better place. Look at the expression on the face.
Yeah, nothing nefarious going on here at all. Dan.
I love the way Sydney Sweeney dealt with it. Like
the thing about that is
her
her expression, which is like looking at this woman like she's an alien. And it's like, you are just like, so that is going to be, this is the face of a million memes in the next like week, because the look of just total bland, utter disregard and refusal to give her, you know, that interviewer any validity in what she's saying is
she
perfect.
wouldn't entertain her nonsense for a moment, would she?
Yep. And that's the thing. You can't consider what they're saying with any legitimacy and kind of give it, well, maybe that's something to think about. No, you just dismiss it outright. And her body language and her expression there is absolutely just dismissing it all outright, which you have to do.
She tries. I don't know if you've seen the full interview. It's a good 2.5 minutes, if not 3 or 4 minutes. And the journalist, in inverted commas, just goes at her and goes at her. She tries and tries and tries. And when Sweeney won't give her the answer that she's looking for or some sort of apology, you know, she tries to go around the back. And it's quite excruciating to watch. But Sydney Sweeney doesn't back down at all. It's absolutely brilliant. And yet the icy stare there.
Yeah, it's because Sydney, I heard that this is described as a hyena interviewing a lion, and the hyena begging the lion to pretend that they're equal. All right. So this is like, there's one bit where she's just like, no.
Yeah.
I love my favorite bit is when you said, you know, you were very sexualized. You wore a push-up bra, and she's like, that wasn't a push-up bra.
if you just a word of advice, you guys please tell me if I'm wrong. If you approach a woman indicating interest and asking her out and you get that expression, don't keep trying. Just walk away, because you're done. You're done.
Well, honestly, that's what makes Sydney Sweeney so great. It's not that she's I mean, she is gorgeous. I mean, she's stunningly gorgeous, right? But it's like that firstly that she knows she's gorgeous, and like she wore that like see-through dress recently, and which was fantastic. But also, like, when she's not being Hollywoody, she's like normal, hanging out with friends, and like she acts like a normal. That's why those jeans ads were great. She was being flirty, right, and like and playful. And you've just seen the scolding Karen from HR for the last like 7-8 years. Zendaya career is over. Nobody wants to see that troglodyte anymore. This is normalcy, right? More of this, please.
This is like 30 years all over again. But yes, when you talk about when you see that, well, when you see either of those expressions you want to run, yes, don't ask out HR Karen, because that's going to ruin your life. But here's the question, as of to how reversed and backwards. Dan, could we have the picture of the mean lady on again?
We certainly can. Yes, she is.
Okay, so GQ, for those of you who don't know, stands for Gentleman's Quarterly.
That's right.
This is their editor-in-chief. Somebody explain this to me. How is this supposed to end well? How do you make money off this?
They just closed Teen Vogue, apparently, right? Which was a propaganda machine for like the weirdest, wokest, socialist stuff in the whole world. And they closed it down, and they fired all their political writers for it, because nobody's in. Woke is dead, and it's like bell bottoms are dead, flares are over. You can wear them.
Bell bottoms come back in every like 5 years or so, and I never understand why.
But see, Chris, obviously, what this woman's strategy was she wanted to maneuver Sydney Sweeney into dissing Trump, dissing whatever, so she could walk out of there with like a good pull quote or like a little clip they could use, and then GQ would be all over social media, for the next week or so, because of what she got Sydney Sweeney to say, and that it didn't work.
And they are all over social media, just not in the way they wanted.
I think it's hilarious.
Oh,
but this could be like a
fantastic.
timeline. The top is the first half of the 2020s, and the bottom half is the second half of the 2020s. In theory, that's what we can hope for. Although,
I like it.
when we look at things like this and why governments are so dangerous now in certain areas, is because they have lost the PR campaign horrifically. And so now they're no longer trying to convince you. They're no longer trying to lull you in. They're now going after you with a sledgehammer, which it's actually, yes, the age of woke is dead, but what it's replaced with is basically authoritarian dictatorships, and that's even more scary because either way we're screwed. They're coming at us with a sledgehammer now, which is why they're trying to regulate the internet. So maybe the second half of the 2020s won't be like that.
Do you think they'll come around?
No, I think we're heading in a good direction.
It depends on where you are, not in my country.
Do you think?
I think globally. I think your country's full.
Do you think that some other demon is going to take another swipe at Sydney Sweeney, or have the eyes, those cutting, icy eyes? Do you think they'll intimidate any other wokey-cokey from having another go?
Oh, they won't. I was in this position about 4 years ago. I decided to do a live stream with one of these degenerate freaks.
I remember.
I won't mention the individual's name. And this person kept trying to gotcha me the way she is right here. This person did not gotcha me. And after about 2 hours of being very nice, near the end, I decided to get very not so nice, sort of more the character that you see in my videos. And this person suddenly had a headache, or mysteriously out of nowhere developed a headache, and had to run away. And none of them challenged me again after that. So, here's the thing, guys. Don't apologize. Don't kowtow to them. Don't show them any resistance. Just say, no. Well, no, I don't. Yeah. Well, what? Because you're an idiot. Go away. Just never apologize. Don't bow down to them. Just they're degenerate creeps looking for attention. That's all it is. It's narcissism and it's attention seeking, trying to prove that you are better than everyone else. That's all it is.
You see, ironically, Chris, what was so stupid?
My methodology is always to humiliate them totally, right? And without mercy, and continue to humiliate them after their corpses.
See, I would say that's exactly what Sydney Sweeney did in being so dismissive, because they were stupid. They were stupid questions that this journalist already knew the answers to, and that we already know the answers to. But she had to. But Sydney Sweeney sort of said that. Spoke honestly. I was working. I do 16-hour days on Euphoria. This is a quality show that this woman is part of, a quality show, and she wants to deliver a quality performance. She's not dicking around on her phone, wondering what sort of arsehole has called her that day. She's getting on with her job. And the notion of doing that is completely alien to this Catherine Stofel, because she probably lives on X. Duncan, the funky Evans here, says in a 19-minute interview, about 15 minutes of it was her trying to get her to say something about the jeans advert or President Trump, which...
the jeans advert thing was great, because she was just like, it's to her, it was such not a big deal. Like I was a jean advert. I went to work and came home. That was that. It was like she treated it like it wasn't a big deal. And obviously, for this editor, it was like it was when the world cracked and turned into flame. Right? It's because again, we've had this insanity for close on 10 years, where like fat, ugly people, we have to pretend they're not fat and ugly. No, you're fat and ugly. Right, and like finally we have somebody who's not fat and ugly. I think by more than luck, more than by judgment, has finally come through with the celebrity. And the fat and ugly people are like, no, I'm just as good as her. No, you're not. Okay, no, you're not. Okay, get this through your head.
What's your take, Gary? Before
I was just going to say really, very quickly that Sydney Sweeney, in a lot of ways we've already been discussing, has really driven the stake the last stake through the heart of wokeness, because everybody has embraced her fearlessness, her, don't give an F mentality, this interview. And this woman was trying to, and so she's kind of the spearhead of the death of woke. This woman was trying to get her in a way to renounce all of that, to say that the ad she did was bad, that the candidate she supports is bad, and delegitimize everything that Sydney Sweeney has accomplished in the death of woke. This woman was trying to spin that back, and it didn't work.
You gotta laugh, haven't you? Nice try, you woke demon. But she managed to fight you back after all. Absolutely brilliant stuff, and we'll keep watching. I mean, I think that Sydney Sweeney should be heralded as some sort of hero for holding the course there. I felt that she set a great example, not just to young women, but to young people. In fact, to everyone who could find themselves sort of on the being hunted, I suppose, by wokeists, because they are getting very, very angry, and they're trying to take as many scalps as they can before the entire thing completely completely bottoms out, which is pretty close now. It's very close by. So yeah, watch your step, everybody, and say as few words as possible, and because that drives them completely mad. Sydney Sweeney, Queen of the Wild Frontier, says Komodo there in the live chat. Thank you kindly. And before we get into anything else, speaking of the wild frontier, when I'm out on the wild frontier, I like to heed sage words of advice, ideally from my childhood. When the TV channels, they were a little more sensible, more right thinking then, and a lot more no nonsense. And I felt that a lot of the films that I watched as a young boy, public information films, set me off on the right course in life. So I've never tried to manhandle a firework, for example, and I've never climbed an electrical pylon. Although, you never know, do you? You never know. But in our selection of international public service announcement movies, courtesy of Chris here, there's been plenty of things that I would have never have imagined one could ever fall foul of within the average, workplace or recreational environment. And you have another one for us today, don't you, Chris?
Hello, everyone. Yes. So as I said previously, my ads have been very Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec centric. So I am now representing some of our other provinces. And the last time we did this was, I guess, 3 weeks ago. I thoroughly disgraced Nova Scotia with the creepy dude in the car. So this week we're going to go to the province of Manitoba. Now, Manitoba is by far our worst province. All of Canada is a crime-infested hellhole, but Manitoba and especially Winnipeg were crime-infested hellholes before the rest of it. So they kind of set the stage for the rest of Canada. So today we're going to learn about what life is like in Winnipeg and things that you should not do with your automobile. So roll it, Dan.
Winnipeg automobile. Got it. I think I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be.
I thought you were done with those guys.
I just went to pick up my CDs.
You better go. You told her we'd be there by 10.
Yeah. We're out of here.
It's like an episode of The Outer
What?
Limits.
Wow.
So who's depressed now? Again, folks, you'll be watching your sitcom and this will come up. This is Canada.
This is what I didn't get. What's all with the creepy kind of like touching with the music and everything?
Yeah.
Well, no, if you don't read that first part, they're getting the guy's corpse ready.
Oh, okay. Oh, like the big chill. Okay.
Yeah, and then you got that. I'd like to thank Winnipeg for gracing us with some happiness next week.
That's I didn't get. Yeah.
So this is Winnipeg. So next week, it's either I have to decide which of the two of them I'm going to get. It's either going to be Carnage in Saskatchewan or drug-induced what the fuck from BC. So stay tuned next week and decide which of those we're going to show, and make sure that you tune in for our Christmas live stream, because I've got the doozy of Canadian PSAs, which is designed to ruin your Christmas. So we're going to be, that will be our last pre-Christmas one, which is what, the 13th, Dan, somewhere around there.
So around that point, yeah.
So we've got that, and as a Christmas gift, we may revisit one or two old favorites, and then I've got a whole bunch of fun stuff. I believe that the new year, I'll be starting off with a video called "Your Finger Is Not Pepperoni." So I'll let you all try and guess as to what that is. So once again, thank you for learning about road safety. So what did we learn this week? Don't do what the dude with the eyebrow ring did. Yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling on Christmas Eve, instead of watching like Rudolph and a Charlie Brown Christmas, Chris just watches all of these for a whole evening.
I just watch my Christmas horror movies.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Dan, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, Dan.
Yes.
I now have my segment for our Christmas show. I'm going to do a countdown of my favorite. I'll probably maybe a top 10, top 5 or top 10 Christmas horror movies and how they could ruin. And some of these are really sick, and awesomely sick. Silent Night, Deadly Night. That whole series is the first one is like, it's special. Santa does unsanta-like things. And there's a few others like that. And there's some acid trip thing that I got from Vinegar Syndrome last Christmas that I'm going to watch for this Christmas. It's supposed to be the strangest thing ever made. And yeah, it's Christmas and Martians and what the fuck. So yay, who's excited?
Some of us don't want to believe that woke is dead here, despite all evidence. Isaiah 55:6. Stick with us. I'm sure there's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle who've got every interest in keeping the culture war alive and in telling you otherwise. But all the evidence is all around us. Wokeism is dead. Come with us, not just for all the Christmas goodies, but for a good dose of common sense as well here. There's lots more to talk about, some things that have been in the news this week. And so stick with us. And if you've seen them, caught them, got a viewpoint about them, let us know in the comments. What do you make of any of this? Where should we go next? How about this one?
Welcome to Deportation Park.
They're moving parents. They do move parents.
Yeah.
That's what Satan's Little Helper. That is I love that.
We'd all go watch that in the theater for 2 hours, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And watch the trilogy. Okay, so yes, earlier on we talked a little bit about Star Trek as a precursor to a bit of a Trek catch-up here on the show. I have been looking at the Star Trek stories that have been breaking over recent weeks. And just when I think I've seen the biggest one, another one turns up. There's not a great deal of Star Trek to actually watch or worth watching. That's the strangest thing of all. But there's lots of Star Trek news everywhere. First of all is the news that I suppose we should have seen coming concerning the broader franchise, particularly its fortunes on the biggest screen, because it's been, how long has it been since there was a Star Trek movie?
10 years.
A good 9 years? Is it 9 years? Something like that?
2016, so basically almost 10.
Yeah, so in that intervening time, they've refused to give up, haven't they, on the idea of a fourth Kelvin timeline movie. And we've been promised various different directors and different scripts and different concepts. I mean, we nearly got one directed by S.J. Clarkson, who went on to make Madam Web, if you remember. So, and there was a Noah Hawley one as well. And who was the other? There was another big creative. Toby Haynes was meant to be working on one. The list is as long as your arm. Yeah. And it's exhausting just keeping track of it. But it does seem to be the case now that it's done. It's simply not happening anymore, and that the Kelvin universe is out there. That it's dead. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's really, honestly, after 10 years, it would have been nice, maybe to have one, but I think it is finally time to let it go. We got a trilogy. I actually really enjoyed the last one, Star Trek Beyond. I think the only really absolute misfire was the second one with Cumberbatch.
The second one, your third one is good.
But I really liked this one. And, with Skydance coming in, they kind of want, it seems like they're kind of cutting ties with the elements that got stalled out or didn't work. And, if anybody wants this, IDW did 5 years worth of comics with the Kelvin crew. If you want new stories with this crew, go find those comics. They're out there. But I wasn't surprised.
I mean, why is there not a movie? Well, first thing, they wanted to have Chris Hemsworth in it, I think. That's what stalled it initially. But bottom line, nobody really wants it. It's like, and also the idea that you can't recast these characters are now completely dead, right? I mean, the idea was introduced more with the fan films. What's the name? The Elvis impersonator was Captain Kirk.
Star Trek Continues.
No, it was the other one.
No, that was Star Trek New Voyages.
Right. But I think he said in an interview, he looked at the role of Captain Kirk as like the death of a salesman. It's like, and that's what they are now. These are classic archetypal characters that can be recast really easy. I mean, and they've been recast reasonably badly as well. I mean, the Kirk in Strange New Worlds looks like more Jim Carrey doing his impersonation of Captain Kirk. Right.
I really enjoyed Star Trek Beyond that came out in 2016. I felt that Justin Lin, who directed it, I mean, when he was appointed, if you remember, there was a lot of pushback on it because he'd worked on a lot of Fast and Furious movies. And people were saying it's just going to be some mindless action movie. That did sort of come to pass. But in some respects, having these sort of big tentpole Star Trek movies in the cinema every 3 years, I'd say, max, I don't believe that hurt the franchise. I don't think that hurt the franchise at all. It was a good gateway into the broader property, I suppose. But of course, this was a whole year before Star Trek's eventual return to television with Star Trek Discovery. And yet so much has changed since then. I think certainly my connection to Star Trek has been completely severed by that various productions there, I suppose, that have tested my patience and my bowels since 2017. But honestly, these films used to make me feel good. And you know what you're just saying about those characters, Rabbi? I think they did prove that even though at one time Leonard Nimoy, it was unimaginable that he could be succeeded as Spock. Zachary Quinto was sensational in that part for the most part, even when he was given some stupid things to say and do, some un-Spock things. He still managed to pull it off.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And you could say the same with Ethan Peck to a lesser extent.
No, you couldn't.
It depends.
I think it's a setup. I think it set things up very nicely, whereby these batons could all be passed. And I think if we have to go back and look at these movies, because this first one came out in 2009, but it was made in between 2007 and 2008. That's nearly 20 years ago. I think we'd be surprised how well they hold up, particularly as J.J. Abrams hasn't made anything for a long time. I think we're all really over
Thank
him.
God. Well, I think it's funny with this, Dan, though. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head at the beginning when we talk about how long ago this was, 2016, and what the view on Star Trek amongst Trekkies and probably even the general public was generally back in 2016. And the last movie, you're right, was more than a year before we were infected with the venereal disease known as STD.
I reckon, Chris, if you went back and watched Star Trek Beyond one night and a couple of episodes of Discovery the night after, you'd think that Discovery was older than Star Trek Beyond.
Well, Beyond, I'm with you. I think that Beyond, it's not a bad movie. The problem that I had with this trilogy, as it is now officially, was not that they were woke, because again, 2 of the 3 of them are before the era of woke, and one of them was shot before the era of woke. So these are so old, they even predate the woke era now. But my complaint with them, which I guess is still valid, they were good movies, but they weren't Star Trek movies. It was Star Trek trying to be Star Wars, which was the main criticism back in 2009.
You're right.
And the criticism that I have now, but I didn't hate them. But I think when you look at the way we viewed Star Trek when Beyond came out, like Into Darkness is a terrible movie, but it wasn't franchise destroying. No. But if you look at what's happened between 2016 when this came out as now, we've had STD, which I think it might be the worst thing I've ever seen. It's definitely in the running, along with a certain British show I won't mention by name. You had Picard completely emasculated. You had the whatever the hell Section 31 was supposed to be. And you have like a slight glimmer, Strange New Worlds, which is 50% decent season or decent series, 50% just as bad as Discovery. I think Star Trek's, well, I think Starfleet Academy is going to kill it.
I think Star Trek Academy is going to be the worst thing ever made in Star Trek.
Yeah, I think
it looks shockingly bad.
It's going to be Star Trek's timeless child. I don't think there's going to be any going back from this. So I think it just wouldn't work if they were to bring this out now. I'm like, you're going back to an earlier era, and the time frame that would lapse between Beyond and whatever movie would have come next now would be longer than the lapse in time between the end of the original series and Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
I was just going to say that, Chris, because it was 10 years from 1969 to 1979, and we're almost just shy of that for this. So if they did a 4th movie, would they acknowledge the passage of time? In which case, you'd have to do kind of like a motion picture.
That would be interesting.
Situation. Or would they just continue on as if no time has passed and it's just another adventure for the Kelvin crew?
No, but you know, because Chekhov is dead. We'll say Anthony Elton's dead, and they could they could have it at this funeral, but they're not going to do that. But that's actually a really good idea. And you could do a redesign of the motion picture Enterprise. I like that idea. It's never going to happen, but I like that idea.
Yeah. No. Well, see, the problem, Rabbi, is there's put aside what's happened to Star Trek since then. You know, all these characters have been recast again, and then you would have basically 2 completely different iterations of Star Trek going on at the same time, and this would, for the regular, you know, just normie, this would be just as confusing as what's happened to DC over the past decade. So I think it's, you know, you have this little trilogy. Like I think maybe 2020, 2021 at the latest is when this might have worked. But I think you're looking at the fact that it's been recast, the fact that you have the franchise is damaged, and the fact that, to be honest, like, I don't hate these movies, but they've never been that highly regarded. I think Into Darkness really did kind of kill this franchise. So it's a nice little thing to read.
I remember thinking this was a massive mistake, and until I saw this first picture of the cast together, and I thought, oh my god, because anytime, I don't know whether at the time they were making it, they were setting it all up in the mid-noughties. I couldn't see any way of making a Star Trek reboot / prequel that wouldn't have been some sort of pastiche in some way. And then I saw this picture that, oh, they are playing it straight. This is for real. And I relaxed a lot more. And so I'm really fond of those films. I was able to take my children to them. And that counts for a lot. It does. And generally speaking, I'm very fond of them. I think that things went off the rails a little in the second one. I think they did struggle with following it up, but that's J.J. Abrams for you. He struggled to make good on anything that he set up. He should have probably have exited a lot sooner. I think had he done so, we might have been 6 or 7 films deep into something that would have been really special by now. But sadly, that wasn't to be. But I would have liked another one. I wasn't massively keen on the story that they'd set up. They were talking about, well, the first one, whereby Chris Hemsworth would come back as George Kirk, that we saw in the first one. They seem to want to do that simply because Hemsworth was a big actor and they knew they could get him because he wanted to do it. And so, oh, well, why not? Well, I don't know. It might have worked. It might have been cool, but was it enough? I don't know. And the various other stories that I heard, that was whispers of between then and now, none of them particularly interested me. So if they didn't have the right story and they couldn't get the actors, then it is probably best that it didn't happen. And it's definitely past time. I'd sort of assumed it wasn't going to happen anyway. Every time they announced a new director for this, I just, it's like the Highlander movie thing. They went on for just too long. You think, oh yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And so I wasn't that surprised in the end to see this dying.
Well, they are making a new Highlander movie. If you did, I think they're shooting.
Yeah, but I disengaged from looking at that at all until I saw that they were actually until they'd got someone, until they'd cast someone, and until filming started. I refused to entertain the thought any further because I thought, well, I could be here forever, and so it's worked out for Highlander.
Well,
I'm
you
sure
know what?
it'll
I
work out for
actually
Star Trek somehow, somewhere, but just not with those actors, Gary.
I don't look at it as they were holding on to the possibility of trying to get this going for 10 years. I never got the impression of and I followed all the news stories, Dan, as you laid out, director after director after director was attached and then left. I never got the idea that they were holding on to this idea because they just didn't have anything else. I never got that. I actually got, okay, there was enough regard for these actors and even with the bump of Into Darkness, there was enough regard for these actors and this iteration of the franchise that they didn't want to let it go, that they really wanted to try their hardest to try to make it work. So they wrote this revolving door of directors and everything. But again, not because it's like, well, it's got to be something. It might as well be that. I never got that. I only felt like they were doing it for the best of intentions because they really wanted to reunite these actors again.
They did have chemistry, didn't they?
Yeah, and present another adventure. I mean, Carl Urban, come on.
He was great. I mean, like, the casting was, well, the only one I really didn't like was Zaladana as Uhura.
Oh no, she was I couldn't stand her. She was insufferable. She was.
Well, wait, now did you guys not like her as Uhura, or did you guys not like the Uhura Spock thing they were trying to do?
Both. I think I can never remember her name, but I think Uhura on Strange New Worlds is a much better interpretation.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I'm like, that first season, that was really good. I think the last shot of the season, when she was like a cadet and she was trying to work out what way she wanted to go in life, and they had a really good story about it. Like, she wanted to facilitate communication. You saw that as a raison d'etre of life. And it was just a beautiful shot where she looks over at the communication station, right? And I absolutely love that. I thought, and she's smoking hot as well. She looks more like on the show.
But you're quite right. The character is what you're picking up on there, Rabbi. I think is that the character is just a bit more studied. They've been able to spend far more time with her rather than think, what can we do to make this character a bit sexier, a bit more interesting, a bit more powerful in sort of short bursts. I thought Zoe Saldana was fantastic, and I quite liked it as Uhura, but I didn't buy the Uhura and Spock thing.
Right.
To be honest, I don't blame the actors. I just don't think there was room for it in those screenplays. I thought it was just too much. They got
to. I think, Dan, that's when they started the idea of Spock has to bang everything. But just to address Lord Hoth, Strange New Worlds Uhura is worse. And you know, that could be valid, but I can tell you why I view, and I'm sorry I can't remember her name, but I'll tell you why she works better. Uhura, Zaldana's Uhura was basically prototype girl boss. Girl bosses before that became a meme. She was very condescending towards everyone, even Kirk at the beginning. What I like about the Strange New Worlds Uhura is, and this actually surprised me at the time, considering the way everything else had gone on Star Trek, where they went the anti-Mary Sue approach with her, where unlike Zeldana, who was basically flawless, she's like Rey. Strange New Worlds Uhura was more humble. She definitely, like, she had a natural ability for linguistics, but she was a very flawed character. She didn't think she deserved to be on the ship. Spock gives her a complete dressing down in the first season, which I like. If you don't think you should be here, then maybe you should leave, because there are many people that would love to be here. So she was, and we do see her develop. I think she wanted a little, she is starting to go a little bit too far in the not so good direction in the past season, but especially that first season, I'm like, that's how you, if you want to make a character interesting, Mary Sue doesn't work. A character has to have flaws. It has to have something to overcome. And Zeldana's Uhura had none of that. She was just glamorous girl boss. I'm better than everyone. So I think that's why they work better.
I think we can all agree Sydney Sweeney for Uhura in the next iteration of Star Trek, right? If as we're up to race swapping.
Who could she be? Not Uhura. We'll put her as Dr. Crusher. A sexy Dr. Crusher.
No, Dr. Crusher.
No, Sydney Sweeney is seven of 9.
I've got a question here in the live chat here on YouTube. Russ Kirby asks, does anyone on the panel think it's sad we never find out what happened to the Enterprise crew and where they ended up? What do you think about that, Gary?
Well, it's kind of, they left it. I mean, the ship's being rebuilt. You know, it's kind of a hopeful thing. The new character, Jayla, I think it was, who I wish, that's why I wish there would have been a fourth one, because I would have loved to have seen what else they do with that character who would have joined the crew, obviously. It ends on kind of a hopeful note. It's like they're all still together. The ship's being rebuilt. You know, it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. So.
No, I would agree. How about you, Rabbi? Do you think that they missed it's a pity that we'll never see where it picked up?
Because we weren't with them long enough to really want to see where their lives went up. I mean, that's why the Otoy stuff was so great with Kirk and Kirk's after death experience with Spock, because we've been with them for 40, 50 years, 60. Right? And we very much invested. These were people playing roles, right, of characters that we love. They played them well, but again, the actors in the roles now are completely replaceable, and that's really what happened. And I think that's probably why it was a good idea. Next Generation moved the story on 100 years, right? Otherwise, because I mean, good though this casting was, I thought the third one was okay. I thought the first one was pretty good, and the second one was terrible, right? But I thought the characters were it's okay. You know, they were well cast and they were doing their jobs. It wasn't like I don't think Chris Pine. I think Captain Kirk. I still think Zachary Quinto played the perfect Spock, right? But again, they're just so replaceable now, right?
That's part of the problem.
I don't really care where they end up.
Well, Rabbi, that's part of the problem, and and at the very core, I think it's sacrilegious to recast Kirk and Spock. They should have gone forward from the beginning, and I think that it's become a trope in Star Trek that I'm personally sick of. Even though I don't necessarily hate all the actors, I think none of them have really equaled the original cast. But it's like you've now had Kirk and Spock and company recast 3 times. It's what I said a few weeks ago when I was giving my prescription for saving Star Trek. What it needs to do to go forward is end all of this and go 100 years into the future, and we need to pretend that Discovery never happened. Go 100 years in the future and then do what TNG did. But I think the point, the correct point is we don't really have any investment in these characters. We only had 3 movies. They were reimaginings of characters we already have. It's sort of like this self-contained trilogy. I don't think anybody else really cares that much for seeing what happens with this of the 3 iterations of our characters. I don't think that many people really care what goes on with the second or the third iteration of these characters either, because just stop recasting. What I want is something new, but I don't think this franchise is going to survive Starfleet Academy. So yeah, we may just have to revisit these as the Star Trek that we have in the future, because we probably ain't getting
I really disagree about there being bad iterations of things destroying franchises. Yeah, because nobody watches them. And as soon as you put something on screen that people find entertaining, they don't care about the Timeless Child. They don't care about Discovery. They have a vague idea of Star Trek, right? You put something Star Trek on and they like it, everything's forgotten. Everything. I mean, Star Wars is, even Star Wars could put itself together, and and they're desperately trying to. But it's choice. They just have to get their.
It gets. I think, Rabbi, part of the problem is not so much even if it's bad content. I think constant recastings will water down a franchise, and
that's true.
I think the fact that we have 3 iterations of the same characters, I think in a certain way diminishes the original series, which I've always viewed as sacred. I never wanted to see any of those characters recast, and the wokeness is obviously the biggest problem that I've had with Star Trek post 2005. But the second one is the recasting, the going over old ground over and over again. Why do the Borg always have to be the bad guys in like every season of Picard?
Yeah,
why can't we do something
enough
new?
with Khan, right? I mean, I only heard the first part of that podcast audio drama with who was a great cast for the Khan. But you're right. For a franchise to do well, it's got to be moving in a new direction. It's got to be sticking out Strange New Worlds. So it's got to be good, and that's any franchise. It's got to be moving forward. Once it starts like circling its own timeline, it's on a spiral to destruction.
And yes, Sydney Sweeney is Janice Rand with the same costume. Okay, there you go. You found it. I'll agree with that.
The beehive hairdo.
Oh yes.
No, but you know what? I have such love for this franchise that I always approach any new series, film iteration, whatever, wanting to give it all the benefit of the doubt in the world until it proves to me that it's not worth my time. And this Kelvin, even with Into Darkness, which still had Alice Eve in it, so even and this Kelvin time, I never made me like regret kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt, because there was a lot that I enjoyed in it.
And that first movie was very, very good. It was a genuinely entertaining experience. The weird thing about the Enterprise was, when I was watching it the first time, I was like, why did they build a set of the Enterprise that looked like some kind of bottling plant? It looks like a brewery or something. What's going on?
I think it was.
And it turned out that's exactly what it was.
I think it was shot in an actual plant, and I think it was a brewery.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure. I remember watching on the documentary.
Yeah, the engineering was that was something else. But even to go with what Gary was saying, I'm kind of like that as well. Like I've given every iteration a chance. Like I didn't hate the Kelvinverse movies. I just didn't kind of see them as Star Trek. I gave Star Trek Dysentery a shot. I watched and made fun of up to season 3. I was pleasantly surprised with Strange New Worlds. Like I went into it expecting I was going to absolutely hate it. I thought it was going to be based like Discovery, and I was pleasantly surprised with that first season. I'm like, this is actually good. Then the other 2 seasons happened. Same thing and when I went into Picard, I actually expected Picard to be good. I'm like, yes.
Why?
We're finally getting the next generation back after what I've suffered through. Because keep in mind, this was like almost 6 years ago now.
Yeah, but we'd already seen Discovery.
It was only one. And I agree with Chris. Discovery was only one show. Anybody can have a bad day in court, can't they?
Yeah, well, and I remember with Picard, actually, Rab, I remember streaming with those with you almost live on the channels they came out. And when they had Picard, like the idea was okay, Discovery's awful, but we're going to get the Next Generation back. And then we saw what they gave us, and I think I was in denial
It was
for
so
at least the
awful.
first 2 episodes. And then by the time we got to episode 3, I'm like, my God, they actually ruined Picard. I could not watch the Next Generation, the TV show, for I think like 3 years after what.
That's the same with me. That's why I had to bail. But that does bring me to our final port of call when it comes to Star Trek. I want to talk very briefly about this because announced 2 or 3 days ago, again this week, was that Patrick Stewart was officially entering his retirement now. He's retired from acting completely at the age of 85. His final role will be in Avengers Doomsday, which is out, I think, next year, isn't it? Next summer sometime. And he'll be playing Professor X, which is the character that he's been playing. Next Christmas, is it?
Yeah.
He's playing Professor X in that, which he's been playing that since 2000, hasn't he? In various sequences of films, first at Fox, and then I gather he appeared in one of the MCU movies quite recently, recreating the character. So I don't know how this is going to come about in Avengers Doomsday, and I don't much care. But 85 years of age, Patrick Stewart bowing out as an actor completely. So we'll never see him play Jean-Luc Picard again, but in fact we'll never see him play anything again after next Christmas. So I wondered what you thought of this. And he's Patrick Stewart. I wouldn't say I've grown up with this actor, but then again, I suppose you could say Next Gen started when I was about 13. I was at an impressionable age. He's always been around. He'd been in films before that I'd seen, even though I didn't necessarily know his name. It's just strange to know that Patrick Stewart has reached a point where he's saying, "Okay, that's enough. No more acting."
Well, how old is he? He's in his 80s, isn't he?
85. Yes, he's 85.
Yeah, let bloody retire. Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably going. I don't know what kind of movie is going, what the Avengers is going to be like, but Sean Connery went out on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That wasn't very good at all. That won't define his career. But look, enough already. People get old, move on. That's why he should be doing new things, quite frankly. Chris, I think you're so right. Star Trek needs a bold reinvention, pushing it forward in 100 years. I think that's really the best idea for him. Right, but I don't know. Try and get on TV first. I would have thought.
Well, I'm not surprised by this at all. I think Picard, it was about 10 years too late. I think beyond the writing and beyond the wokeness and the issues with that show.
Yeah, he was too old.
And it was just, it's an issue that can't be helped. He was at least a decade too old to be playing that character. And I've said it before. One of the distinguishing things about Captain Picard and Patrick Stewart was that booming voice that is recognizable anywhere. The biggest tragedy of the Picard seasons was that voice was pretty much completely gone. By the time he came back, it was basically sort of like, it was like Captain Picard if he had a severe case of laryngitis. Like he, and it happens to all of us. We all sort of hit that point where everything starts to go. And real Picard during the Next Generation, the movies, had an authority to him. Mm-hmm. New Picard didn't. Like there were some moments in season 3, mainly when he was acting with Jonathan Frakes, because I think the two of them actually naturally elevate each other's performance.
Yes, agree.
But I'm not surprised, and it is a shame that his final performance will probably be one of the biggest television or movie bombs in history. But I'm like, hey, he's 85, and even though the end of his career was, what it was, I don't think that diminishes anything that he did before. Like it is, some people argue he may be the best captain. I think he's up there. I also really like Sisko and Captain Kirk version #1, William Shatner. I think everybody had his Christmas Carol narration audiobook. I know in the 90s that was everywhere. He's also known as Professor X. Yeah. He was also in Dune. So I think he's had a great career. And I think I'll use an example that I've seen in music recently, and I'm sure you must have seen the videos because they're going all over the place. David Lee Roth, him on stage right now. It's similar. I'm like, there comes a certain time where, you know, we have to accept that we're older and step aside. I think it was Grace Slick from Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, said it decades ago. And with regards to rock stars, is you shouldn't continue doing that after the age of 50 because you're going to start looking ridiculous. And so I guess if I ever went back to music, I'd only have 3 or 2.5 years left to do it. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think with acting, I think there's a certain point where to protect your own legacy, you have to hang up the towel. And I think a lot of it might be arrogance, thinking, oh, I can do this again. I'm like, no, we get old. We can't after a certain point. Yeah. So I think it's a well-deserved retirement. I'm glad that he's good. He's definitely, even though his body has faded, I think he's still going out with his faculties intact. So that's good. So I guess we will forgive Picard season 1 or 2. At least I know I will, and just respect the amazing work that this man has done.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think you have, if you look at his whole legacy, going back as far as like the first thing I saw him was like I Claudius. You know, where he did like an amazing
job in that, didn't he?
And the fact, yes, and the fact that you know, he could create one. I mean, from dubious beginnings, he crafted one of the great like sci-fi icons in Picard. I mean, you think about the horror show of the production of, especially that first 2 seasons, where he had to come in for auditions wearing a wig because they didn't think that, and which he did to his credit, because the producers didn't know whether a bald captain would work. And you know, he shepherded that show, and he took it seriously enough to where you know, until the world started taking this seriously as not some kind of weird fly-by-night ripoff of the original Star Trek. And then he comes along and he creates another great legacy character in Professor X. I think he's the only one that could have ever played that role.
Yep.
And I didn't follow all of the X-Men movies because it seemed like every movie started rewriting the timeline and canceling out everything that happened before, and it just became too much of a headache to deal with. And I'm sorry that his final role is going to be in a movie that, and budget aside, there's like 55 main cast members of this.
Yeah, that's what I
thought. At the most, he's going to have maybe like 2.5 minutes maybe to shine in this.
If that.
You know, but all credit to him for, you know, helping to spearheading a series that many regard as, you know, the high point of the franchise in TNG. I think he invested that role and by extension the whole series with a gravitas that I think has led to its people embracing it over the decades. And you're right, his chemistry with Frakes is just amazing. I love watching the two of them together. So as you said, Chris, well-deserved retirement, you know, a tip of all of our caps for having such an impact on the genre over the last 40 years.
It's
30 years.
Well, it's almost kind of scary when we think about now how long ago that first season of The Next Generation was. I am the same age that Patrick Stewart was during that first season. And like in 2 years, The Next Generation will be 40 years old. I'm like, that is horrifying.
Yeah. Horrifying and terrifying. The legacy of Gene Roddenberry soars on. Hopefully, will there be another Star Trek movie? Apparently, there will be. They are pushing on with a fresh take. I say, with brand new characters, is all that we've been told so far.
We had one, Dan. Section 31 was technically the 14th Star Trek movie. Like,
Oh,
even
man.
though it wasn't in theaters, that was your 14th Star Trek movie. How
And
the
we
mighty
laugh
have
about
fallen.
that. Yes, in fact, we come to think of it, when we watched it, we never really stopped laughing afterwards, did we?
And anybody watching, if you haven't gone and seen our Section 31 stream, please go revisit that.
It was quite an evening, and that was quite a film. Yeah, things can only get better after Section 31. Theatrically, I can't wait to see Star Trek back in the cinema somehow, somewhere. But I don't think it's going to be any time soon, to tell you the truth.
Oh, it's minimally
I have a question for you, Dan. I don't think I've ever asked you this. When you were watching Next Gen, how long did it take you to really accept Patrick Stewart in the role? Like, oh, he's creating a good character. I accept him as the next captain. Was it right away, or did it take you a couple seasons, or what?
In my case, I can honestly say I had no problem whatsoever accepting either the concept of the Next Generation, the setting of it, the flavor of it, or the cast. I think I'd have struggled if they'd have cast new Kirks and Spocks back then, but because these were completely different characters and the show was different, but it had the same core being as the show, as the original Star Trek, and it was informed by the success of the films up to a point. So I accepted all of them instantly. In fact, they, for me, were never the problem. I think I quite enjoyed season 1, to tell you the truth, but I think the reason why I stood the course with it and persevered with it during some of the ropier episodes was simply because I liked them all so much from the start. I liked them all, and accepted them all as these brand new characters. I thought they were very well realized, and with hindsight, knowing what I know now, I think they were really, really well cast. And so I accepted it instantly. Am I in the minority?
No,
I was a little bit.
It was the age. I remember renting the VHSs from my local, it was like a deli.
That's where I got them. That's exactly how I watched them.
Sorry?
That's exactly how I watched them as well.
Yeah,
on
and I thought
VHS.
it looked like good special effects. I thought Encounter at Farpoint was awful when I first saw it. I was like, how long is this going to go on for? A cringe ending. But I think by the time it reached the end of season 1, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm up for more of this. And then season 2, it kind of developed its own ideas. I think killing off Tasha was a good thing. I think it really helped the series. It gave it some weight, weirdly.
Stakes, which it didn't really have that first season.
And also the weird, bringing Pulaski in the second season, I thought was a bit strange. But the stories were solid stories. You had solid 45 minutes of entertainment more often than not. And when you didn't have good entertainment, it was normally quite sexy, right? It was one of the awful ones where it wasn't Riser, but it was like one of the early ones in season 1 where everybody runs instead of walks, and everybody loves to have sex
Haven.
all the time.
No, Justice. That's the one where Wesley steps on the grass and
the one that with the very revealing costumes.
Yeah, right. And then you had the African female matriarchy one where you had so they were kind of ropey, but they were again
Angel One.
A 12-year-old, even hornier rabbi. Man, if you think I'm horny now, forget it. I was way hornier then.
Well, you would have been a young horny rabbi back then.
I was young horny rabbi, but I had no latency period. I just was like, I know what I want to do.
It just went from 0 to 100. Well, one thing I'll say about the seasons, I'm not season 1 is weak. Season 2 is weird, because it's half some of the best Star Trek we ever got in real Star Trek, and half some of the worst Star Trek we ever got. But one thing that I think is worth checking out, if you want to see how bad those first 2 seasons were on a technical level, a few years ago, Red Letter Media put out a nitpick video where it's like an hour long, and literally all it is pointing out all the errors in the original series, and how many there were on screen in those first 2 seasons is mind-boggling. But I think I'm a little bit different. when it came to accepting Patrick Stewart as a new captain, because I with the Next Generation, I go back to 1987 when it started, and I was 9, and at this point I lived and breathed Star Trek. Like, Captain Kirk was my hero. So for that first season, I actually identified more with Riker because he was the Kirk figure. This was, young me who wanted another Captain Kirk. By, I'd say, the third season, I'd say it maybe took me that long to really accept Patrick Stewart as the captain. But keep in mind, season 3 is when the show ramped up to a whole new level.
Right.
And the big difference between seasons 1 and 2 and season 3 is there wasn't any conflict between the crew, especially in season 1. There were no character-centric episodes. The difference that they made with season 3, which elevated all the characters, is each episode, even though it might be about something bigger, had to be centered on one character of the show. Where if you look at Ensigns of Command, it's Data. If you look at Evolution, it's sadly enough Wesley Crusher. If you look at Who Watches the Watchers, that's Picard. If you look at The Bonding, it's a non-central character altogether, which I thought was risky.
That's Ron Moore's first script.
I think probably tipped over into that type of storytelling. It was a season 2 episode written by a new writer, Melissa. Where Data was basically put on trial for
Measure of a Man.
Measure of a Man. But that was one of the first character-centric stories, and I think that really had a strong influence. I hadn't thought about it before. You're absolutely
lifted the whole thing enormously. There was a seam of stories in that second season.
Geordie got 2 episodes back to back at the beginning of season 3. He got Booby Trap and The Enemy, and I think
the thing with Picard, since we started off talking about Patrick Stewart, is after the Best of Both Worlds, the Borg. He starts playing, and they start writing him a little bit different. Picard is more of a kind of a well-rounded kind of like, he finds his humanity, in the episode where he's kind of turned into the Borg, and he plays it like it's easier. He's more relatable. He's more, he's not like the kind of like stiff rules, regulations Starfleet captain like he is in the first 3 seasons. And to his credit, I think he does that transition very well, where they start really humanizing his character, in the latter seasons. So again, applause for him.
The character evolved very nicely. Patrick Stewart, the idea that he never wanted to, he scoffed, didn't he, at the actress Lalla Ward when they were in Shakespeare together, because at the time she was co-starring in a certain British science fiction series, and he said, why are you doing such nonsense as that? Why are you doing science fiction? And she shrugged and tells that story quite a lot. But it is odd that Patrick Stewart should become so synonymous with such a big sci-fi role in such a huge sci-fi franchise as Star Trek. So obviously we wish him a happy, long, relaxing retirement. But talking about all this has zhuzhed me up rather to go back to my DVD and Blu-ray collection and pick up where I left off and watch some proper Star Trek. I've healed, and I'm certainly not going to go anywhere near Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which I think kicks off sometime in the new year. So if you're going to venture in,
I think we'll probably end up watching it for this show, and it will be a Section 31 type thing, and you may hear me vomiting into a bucket in the background.
I had no intention of watching it, but if everybody else is watching it, perhaps I will. But
Dan, I am considering doing one of my review type videos that I do for that show that we won't mention by name for the first episode of this. That's how pissed off I am that this exists.
Stay tuned for that, everybody. Obviously, yes. Star Trek 4 is not going to happen, certainly with the Kelvin crew, whatever does turn up, wherever it turns up, and whenever, heaven only knows. In the meantime, we've got to endure the final loss of all dignity for the Star Trek franchise as Starfleet Academy plays out. It's believed this is only going to run to 2 seasons at best.
I can't believe it's going 2 seasons. That's just, I understand that.
I think they're halfway. I think they're halfway through making the second season.
Yes.
So I think we
Here's
assume that
my,
works.
before we leave this topic, Dad, I just have to make one final plea to Skydance. Jettison this, put everything into some kind of capsule, shoot it into the sun, and never speak of it again.
Nope, not going to happen.
Wise words, good advice.
You don't think it's even an option, Gary?
I don't. It's too late in the day to Batwoman this thing or Batgirl this thing.
Oh, let's keep
Sadly
watching the
true.
stars, everybody. Let us know what you think and what you want of Star Trek. Do you just want them to stop it all, or can it be saved, retrieved somehow? Let us know.
What are you doing? I'm watering the garden. I'm trying to clean the place up. That ugly Maureen bird coming again, eh? She's not ugly. What's this stuff? Ajax Creamy Cleanser. What's wrong with our other Ajax? Peter, there is nothing wrong with our other cleanser. This is a special creamy Ajax that cares for modern surfaces. Just look how clean and shining it keeps our recently purchased refrigerator. Purchased it fell off the back of a truck. Finders keepers. I still use Ajax powder as well. You need something as powerful as Ajax powder to get right down to the dirt and clean up after you. But just look at that bath. Oh, you dirty old man. Ajax will fix it, Harold. It's got double bleach. Peter, a glorious home like ours needs both cleansers. Ajax Creamy for the modern surfaces and Ajax powder for the tough chops. And both on you. Yeah. Look, absolutely spotless. And all for Maureen. Ajax gets things ever so clean. I still think she's ugly.
One last nugget, I think, one more story, because it's time to go over to the physical media corner to pick up on a story from a few weeks ago, which was starting to appear, and we speculated about, if you remember, Chris, concerning the current vogue, I suppose, for 4K and Blu-rays, and a particular label, I suppose, which had fallen out of favor with you in particular in recent years. We do have movement on the story of Shout and Scream Factory, don't we? This was everywhere this week. What can you tell us about it?
Yes. So just to refresh people, there's been a lot of concern, still justified concern, on the state of Shout / Scream Factory. They were bought out by Oak Tree Investments, basically an equity fund. Back in 2023, over the years, or the past 2 years, I've kind of detailed the company going to complete crap on this channel, basically just giving up on their niche stuff, re-releasing the same things over and over again. Then there'd been a sequence of events a few weeks ago. One was the big sale, like clearance sale on their website. And the second was losing Halloween, plus a few other things that were going on. So basically updates. So some people will say what I'm going to finish with here is good. I'm going to say it's kind of iffy. Other leaks that have come out since then is they had been, before the buyout, they had been in negotiations with to get the physical media rights for a number of films. Apparently everybody involved was ghosted. Then they came back and were only discussing getting the digital rights, which is not good. But what happened this week? So the site disappeared, and Shout Factory, all their e-commerce has moved over to Groove. If you don't know, Groove in the US, it's a site owned jointly by Universal and Warner. We also have a Groove Canada, which is just awful. I don't know why you'd want to use Groove Canada, but all their retail sales are going to go through there. So this may give them a brief reprieve for physical media, but I think it's just another step in slowly phasing out physical media. This is my view, because they have shut down their web store. Even announcements, we haven't had any official announcements other than leaks for January, and normally those would have come out 2 weeks ago. I think you're going to be you might get some physical media, but I'd give the physical media end of this company maybe a year, 2 and a half, because I think it's phasing out. Because it's like just getting rid of their web store is just the latest in sort of the dismantling of the physical media side of this company that we've seen since 2023. So I think I know there are some releases in the pipeline. If they will come out, I don't know. We're still waiting on an official announcement for January, unless that came out today, and I just haven't seen it yet. Other information that has come to light is apparently they've been holding on to a number of titles, specifically from Paramount, that they negotiated the rights to 2 or 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. Typically, they get these for 4 years. There's been no announcement as to what those titles were, but it looks like these are probably not getting a release. So Scream Shout Factory, the way I see it right now, like Groove, yes, it's a temporary reprieve, but they want to do their streaming service, and I will not be supporting it when they do that. But I don't think it's quite as bad as it was.
Okay.
Well, with Scream, I think it is, but with the state of physical media, I don't think it's quite as bad as to what I sort of stated 2 weeks ago. Because had this happened, say, in 2019 or 2020, it would have been devastating, because there was no real counterpart to Scream Factory. It's Scream/Shout at that point. They were all smaller companies, but there's 3 of them that are stepping up, and we actually have competition between 2 of them. So specifically what's been leaked with those Paramount titles, when the physical media rights lapse on those, there are 2 companies that are actually currently fighting to get those, which are Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow Video. And I think Scream Factory completely imploding as far as physical media. It's already benefited 3 companies in particular. I think Arrow Video, which 5 years ago had a very limited presence in North America, was mainly just cult horror. And I think Arrow Video has known what's going on with Scream Factory, because many former Scream Factory people, including the individual responsible for Scream Factory, have been with Arrow Video for several years. So I think the people behind Arrow have known what's going on, which is why they've ramped up what they've been doing. And they're not really a cult company anymore. Basically, what they do now is their 4K releases. Every release is basically a candidate for the best physical media release ever. So I think when it comes to premium they are even beating the absolute shit out of Criterion at this point. So I think Arrow Video is going to become the new gold standard. Not so much for the cult stuff. Aside from newer, they've left that behind. They're more of a kind of an everything.
So for these Paramount titles, the ideal scenario would be that they end up with.
Well, they've got a deal with Warner, which they've had for a few years, which is what a lot of their recent titles have come with. They're fighting over the Paramount deal. The other one, so Paramount Arrow Video now is like the pinnacle of physical media. It leaves every other company in the dust. But second to that is Vinegar Syndrome, which also I think has probably been aware of what's going on the past few years, because they have also transformed from just a niche boutique label to similar to what Arrow was doing. They're getting a lot of major films, and in terms of transfers, Arrow is the best I've ever seen. Vinegar Syndrome for 4K is the second best I've ever seen. But I think with Scream Factory out of the way, I think Arrow is going to become an absolute behemoth, because they've already had the UK market for years, and they are now really starting to take the North American market. Failing that, you got Vinegar Syndrome, but then there's a third company which has been around for a long time, and used to be kind of a budget company, but decent budget, not like the garbage that Mill Creek puts out, which is Kino Lorber, which have picked up a lot of the niche titles, and they've actually
quite often, Chris, I see things
titles
listed. Like Dante's Peak, I think, is out relatively soon, and I'd love that on 4K Blu-ray. And I saw that was coming out. Saw it was with Kino Lorber, but they are one of the few labels, I believe, where their releases are still region locked, because they've got several titles that I would have wanted otherwise. So hopefully, if they're going to start expanding, they'll refresh their idea about regions.
I think the reason for that, Dan, is even though they're a lot larger, Kino Lorber has always been more of a budget label, but quality budget.
Okay.
So where Arrow, it's simple because they started as Region B, so they can easily have their titles unlocked. Vinegar Syndrome's mandate is completely different, and they are the least likely company to switch to streaming. Their mandate is film conservation. And there's actually videos on YouTube which are worth checking out where they actually have a film archive. So, they, in terms of restoration, they are probably the best in the business. Arrow's advantages in their encoding. So with those two companies, I think it's probably easier for them to because technically you have to get around the rights for both regions. I think for Kino Lorber, I think it's probably more difficult because they put out a lot, probably more than all the others combined. And I think for them, it's more cost effective to just negotiate Region A, which I would hope that would change. But if you're in North America, they have re-released a lot of what has gone out of print from Screen Factory. Some are 4Ks. Some are just regular Blu-rays. The 4Ks are all new transfers. I think a lot of the Blu-rays are just the old Screen Factory transfers, but some of these have been unavailable for 5 or more years. And Kino Cult is literally what Screen Factory's niche horror line used to be, with a few other things. And yeah, Mill Creek takes compression to a whole new level. I think the only Mill Creek release Mill Creek has only ever made 2 good releases. The Rockford Files and a Hammer Horror Collection. Everything else is just a dumpster fire. But that's where I am right now. So I think Screen Factory, my prediction is they are definitely, this move to Groove is, no, it's not saving the company. It's part of a phase out. From my view, I view this as the final piece in a phase out that's taking several years to phase out physical media, and obviously getting rid of their web store, their warehouse, their website is going to be part of that. But I think for releases, I think we're going to be fine for now, knock on wood, because we have 3 very strong companies, each of them doing something a little bit different. Plus, we still have Severin, we have Synapse, 88 Films, Blue Underground, Terror Vision, a lot of the smaller labels. So my main concern, which will be my main concern, is the players themselves. And we'll have to see what happens over the next few years. I think what we need is either Sony to introduce a replacement for the X800, because we need an alternative mid-level player in case Panasonic maybe goes tits up or divests themselves of that entire segment. Or just another company, Pioneer. Even though I know you just recently dumped physical media completely a year ago, Pioneer, please come out with a player. People will buy it. We need some positive news in the player market, and that needs to be another midline player, because it can't all depend on Magnetar, which nobody can afford, Panasonic, which is the strongest, but again, not a big presence in Region 1 anymore, and still debating selling their television line, and one remaining Sony player, which used to be their entry-level player. So I'm not concerned about the discs coming out for now. I'm concerned about the players. So we need something new, and I'll leave it there.
Definitely. Obviously, this is something that we are covering extensively in the future. I feel that the expansion of these boutique labels is really, really exciting for anybody who's really into film. And this is this month's release, I think, from Arrows. There's a couple there that I'm really interested in. So I'm getting into the habit now of sort of pre-ordering the stuff that I fancy and then picking it up when I can. There, Gary's very proud of his copy of Outland, which I see. I've got to get this.
Actually, I got that too. I haven't watched. Oh, Dan, I just have to answer just a quick question. Duncan, Sony is Duncan, Sony is reportedly adding a a 4K drive to the PS6, but it's going to be external. Same as the one that they have right now, which retails for about $1,000. So that's actually an upside. That not the best quality, but another option. Sorry, Dan, I just had to clarify that question.
No, that's quite all right. This is the kind of thing we want to do, sort of troubleshooting people's questions about this stuff and share knowledge, I suppose, as time moves on. PD Rich says that HMV is getting some interesting Blu-ray sections in their store. They've refined their own label as well and slimmed their packaging down and things like that. So yes, I'm very keen to find out where this is going with Shout and Scream, because it does worry me when I'm only just getting into this and upgrading some films or getting some films. I've never owned Outland ever, for example, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid. But there's other movies that, when they get released in this format, I love that. So I'm finally on board with this sort of revolution. So we'll see where it goes. We'll keep following up this story, certainly, and Dan, watch this space.
The mask released on there based on some reviews. I've got it pre-ordered. They haven't sent it to me yet. But based on some of the reviews that I've seen on the mask, many people are saying this is the best physical media release they've ever seen in terms of the transfer. So I'll let you know when I get it what I think. But Arrow just seems to improve their process with every release.
I'm going to say I've heard that 3 or 4 times in the last 2 years, and each time it's been about an Arrow release. Whether it be, I think Poltergeist was the first one that made me think, oh, maybe I should get on board with this. And then there've been at least 2 this year where people have said, I think Lethal Weapon, I did hear a lot of good reviews about the Lethal Weapon release from Warner Brothers, I would imagine. But everything else has been Arrow.
The other thing I'm really excited about with Arrow is that I was reading an online review of this, and was the news that next year Arrow is going to be doing Peter Hyam's other great, in my mind, science fiction film, which is 2010, The Year We Make Contact, the 2001 sequel with Roy Scheider. The fact that they're doing their version, and no doubt an amazing transfer with a ton of great extras and stuff, has me really excited because I love that movie.
I haven't seen it for a long time, but I'll certainly be getting it. Let us know, what are your favorite labels, everybody? Are you on board with this? And what are your thoughts about the future of physical media? Which of these will you be picking up in the coming weeks? Let us know, and we'll check back in with you when we know a little bit more too. How about that? Yes. Okay, I think that wraps it up for this one. But before we go there, let's go here.
Why buy just a video game from Atari or Intellivision? Invest in the wonder computer of the 1980s for under $300, the Commodore VIC-20. Unlike games, it has a real computer keyboard. With the Commodore VIC-20, the whole family can learn computing at home. Plays great games, too. Under $300, the wonder computer of the 1980s, the Commodore VIC-20.
So many screens and so little time. Yes, so that was Captain Kirk flogging the VIC-20. I had one of those when I was a kid. That was my first ever computer. It was my pride and joy. I got 5 games, Rabbi, 5 games, and I played them on rotation. And eventually I used up all the memory. I had to have an extra memory pack that you fastened into the back, which was almost as big as the computer itself.
I had a Commodore 64, which I guess was a couple of years after that. Right, I remember playing Manic Miner a lot, right?
That's the one. That's the one. We've all got our favourite toys. We did then, and we have now, haven't we? But this has been quite a ride again. A bounce around the pop culture ecosphere, I suppose you could call it, to take in what we could over the last couple of hours. Thank you, everybody who's joined us. You can hit the playlists and get a load of the rest of it, including these regular sort of looks around the various bits and pieces of news that have been upsetting everybody over the recent weeks. Or there's our deep dives into James Bond, classic movies or physical media, and more Star Trek too. So hit up the playlist and see what takes your fancy. Yeah, definitely good stuff. Okay, excellent conversation, guys. Thank you. We have covered some ground this time, haven't we? We've covered Sydney Sweeney. We've done Star Trek.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Always in my imagination. I'm
the chance would be a.
I don't want to
thing.
say what, but
there's some great comments here in the live chat as well. Matt Pott, he's been into that commercial sold me. So Lord Thoth is off to get a Vic 20 off eBay or Vinted or somewhere. See where he can get that. Funky is talking up the Arrow release of the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns.
My tongue getting.
Stephen,
I have to ask Dan really quick because you're such a purveyor of the car boot sales and various things like that. Do you ever see people like selling their old Commodore computers or where you go?
I've never seen it. No, it's the one thing I never see are those sort of proper old computers that would be anything that would be worth something. Certainly, now and again, you might see people trying to sell old PCs, but you never see sort of an Atari STs or anything like that. No, never.
Oh, yeah, this will make you cry, Dan. Garage sale, 1992. I sold my Atari and 200 games for $50. I never got over that.
Wow. Yeah, it's the one thing I never see. I see plenty of PlayStations and things like that, and some of them are quite new, but never a boxed Vic 20 because I'd be all over that. Funky says that HMV has a good selection of some of these boutique titles. Depends on the size of your HMV. They've just downsized the one at my local shopping precinct from quite a big store to one half the size. And so they've slashed all of the physical media in particular and increased the vinyl there. Vinyl and T-shirts and pop vinyls are everywhere.
I got bad news on that front. Dan, is it okay if I briefly depress everyone about HMV?
Oh, go on. Yeah, brace
Okay.
us.
So HMV is owned by Sunrise Records out of Canada. Sunrise Records has been cutting all their stores in half, and they're closing stores left and right, including mine, which closed a couple of years ago. It's the same. They also own FYE in the US.
Oh, yeah.
So they are slashing all over the place. So I
that would explain it.
Don't hold out hope for HMV. That's inside Canadian news. So you can blame Canada for that one. But yeah, Sunrise Records, HMV, and FYE, they have basically just a different name for each country. I don't think they're going to be around much longer. So there you go. As always, I'll leave you on a happy note.
There are two big HMVs in Birmingham still. One of them is really big. But obviously, Birmingham is not the safest place to go at the moment. So I would imagine they're experiencing a drop-off of footfall as people stay home and stream, just like the astronaut is here. It wouldn't at all surprise me. People talking about Galaxians in the live chat and various other computer games. HMV is going to close again. This is like the third or fourth time, says Funky. Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Somebody might buy it.
Diminish, yes, Lord Toth. Yeah, you still have. I think Ottawa still has 2 stores. They might be down to 1, but everywhere else, they're down to either 1 store or, in many cases, like my city, no store at all. I think
we need a hero. We need a hero.
Yeah, somebody
come and save us. Somebody save HMV again. It's a pity because I was just getting into the habit of sort of going to my local one recently, and then they've halved it. So we shall see. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed going into a bricks and mortar store and having a mooch around, Rabbi, just rather than going in for anything particular.
Oh, I miss the video store. Like I like to go with the kids, pick out the movies to rent. Look, we are lacking from communal culture, right? And that's really where we've been in the last 10 years. We're lacking with I stop with the binge model, release things simultaneously around the world, right? And we can have a shared culture again, but we're also fractured in our own little bubbles, right? And I mean that's why there's no middle ground anymore, because middle ground means you're happy with things the way they are. No one's happy with the way things they are. They either want a socialist dystopian nightmare, or the green fields of England to once again reside be the norm. So I don't know. I'm hoping the right side is going to win.
You and me both, mate. You and me both. Thank you again, Rabbi, for your company. How are your crackers? Are they
They are
cream?
reasonably cream, but I had several very good naps today. I took one this morning. Good Sabbath. Sabbath, you just like sit around and read, but after lunch I normally have an in-bed nap, and that was a good 2 hours. But it's 11:15 for me. I'm ready to go to bed. I'm ready to climb the wooden hill to bed.
But you will be streaming tomorrow, won't you?
I am on tomorrow. I'm going to be reviewing the Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, covering the story that Paramount is in talks for the streaming rights for the show that may not be named. Which actually, because Paramount is very based, apparently.
Why would anybody want that shit?
Well, they're also trying to get Star Trek because I think they're trying to shift culture back into a normal direction. The guy who runs it is like very pro-Trump, very, very MAGA, right?
I'm actually going to predict. In my gut, I actually think that next year is going to be a very good one for Star Trek. I think the developments in terms of what they're going to be doing at the franchise, I think will end up being really encouraging.
Yeah, we still have 2 years of Starfleet Academy.
Like
that
is Starfleet Academy into space
for its 60th anniversary year as well. Things may come together.
There you go.
They?
Yeah, I think they're going to do something for that.
Obviously, it's Remembrance Sunday here in Britain. We will be thinking of the people who gave their lives for our nation and for our liberty in all those conflicts throughout the decades. Most of us still haven't forgotten. So if you're thinking of them too, obviously, let us know. Drop us a comment. British culture, British history, and the achievements, the accomplishments of British people are being torn down around our ears at the moment. And you'd think that they would let us have the dignity of remembrance. But it seems like even that, it could be too much. So if that's getting to you as much as it is certainly to me, I lost family members in various conflicts, then leave us a comment by all means and tell us your story and blow off some steam if you need to. Chris, speaking of family, some family do let us down, though, don't they? And I understand that the saga of Frank is still quite a sorry tale.
Yeah. So if you want to make me bigger, I've got Frank's latest picture. So if you remember last week, Frank set up a cult, accidentally conjured Satan, and last week Satan was fully manifest and everything was on fire. But Frank is trying to rehabilitate his image, which one must do when one brings about the apocalypse in the end times, because one is an idiot. So Frank has taken the picture that we saw last week and has reconfigured it with some AI jiggery pokery bullshit. And this is not representative of what we saw last week. So Frank is now trying to claim that he's just a good guy and everything is fine, and Satan is just there to party. But as we saw last week, so just bear with me here for a second, Dan, we're just going to do another shift as to what the actual story is. Okay, so if you remember, so this is what the actual picture is.
Yeah.
So Frank has gotten us all killed. So the fires across the world continue, even though mainstream media is covering everything up, because they all want us to die. So we're still screwed. So we'll get more updates as it comes, but it's very unlikely we have to worry about HMV closing or Scream Factory, even Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, because we all could end up dead by the end of the year. Well, no, not could have. We are going to be dead by the end of the year. We're going to burn in a fiery hellfire of Earth, more so than we are already, and it's all Frank's fault. So next week we'll keep you updated on the situation, but it's looking very, very bad.
Where's it going to end for Frank? Where's it going to end for all of us?
Oh, and Three Eye Atlas. That's just a cover, Stephen. That's Frank. Satan created that to distract people from his hellfire with Frank.
There we go. We'll keep bringing you all the news on Frank as best as we can, of course. But in the meantime, Chris, we have the promise of your review, maybe of Starfleet Academy, over on your YouTube channel at some point in the near future.
If my blood pressure will allow. There may be some yelling, although I'm sure that's not a surprise.
There you go. And yes, we'll be here with you at the Spacebook Live for the next few weeks, at least in the run up to Christmas, until our Christmas special sort of party show. Heaven knows what's going to happen then, but it's usually fairly lively. Things will reach ahead in one way or another, and yeah, we'll see you then. But until then, there'll be more of the same, more looks at the week in pop culture, and a couple of deep dives into particular movies as well. So stick around. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check you're still subscribed, and smash that cloister bell to get all the notifications about what's coming next and when and how. But 60 years of Star Trek next year. If only we could peep into the future and see if they're going to pull anything off whatsoever. We'll leave that with you. See what you think. Drop us a comment, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.